But arguably, like, the real fans of The View that are like, oh, these ladies are on point. Most of those people can't leave the house. Like, they're probably immobile.
Right.
But life is random. The only word to describe it when a big game hunter gets trampled by an elephant and then eaten by lions is hilarious.
Imagine this: Bill Maher and Joe Rogan, two unapologetic juggernauts of sarcasm, satire, and scorching social commentary, decide, not by accident but by deliberate design, to aim their collective firepower at Sunny Hostin, The View's resident moral compass and champion of all things progressive. What unfolds is not just a debate, not merely a difference of opinion. It's chaos, artfully orchestrated. Maher, ever the cold strategist, slices through Hostin's polished rhetoric with that signature smirk and a handful of inconvenient facts. Rogan, the less refined but more ferocious counterpart, charges in like a stand-up comic with a vendetta, hurling observations that land like sledgehammers. There are no polite nods or carefully worded rebuttals here. What you get instead is a masterclass in rhetorical warfare, brutal truth bombs, savage burns, and long, awkward silences so sharp they could cut glass. This isn't just entertainment. It's a cultural takedown, delivered with precision and wrapped in just enough comedy to keep you laughing even as the discomfort settles in. You'll squirm. You'll wince. But you won't look away. Because when two men with nothing to lose and no filters decide to confront the queen of televised moral certainty, what results is a beautiful disaster you can't afford to miss.
First segment, you used the term woke, and you said that woke is what was sort of ruining everything, and I know that you're...
No, I didn't say ruining everything. I said that's why Trump could get reelected.
That's why Trump could get reelected. Yeah. So the term woke has been, in my view, co-opted by the right and weaponized and bastardized, and so I was surprised to hear you use the term because historically, as you know, because I think you're quite brilliant, that woke is a word used by the black community to note that we must be aware of social injustices.
But words
and
migrate.
So why is that a bad thing?
It's not a bad thing, and originally that was absolutely a great thing. Alert to injustice. Who's not for that? But words do.
Bill Maher and Joe Rogan, names that, in today's media landscape, represent the last line of defense against the sanitized, overly curated world of cable news niceties, have never been known for playing it safe. They don't ask for permission. They don't hedge their bets. And when they set their sights on The View's Sunny Hostin, they do so not with polite disagreement but with full-blown verbal warfare. This isn't a roundtable discussion. This isn't a coffee shop chat over shared opinions. This is the intellectual equivalent of a barroom brawl where ideology gets tested not in theory but in the fiery crucible of sarcasm, skepticism, and straight-up mockery. Maher comes in with a calm, calculated disdain, wielding sarcasm like a scalpel, peeling back the layers of progressive dogma with surgical precision. Rogan follows with the force of a wrecking ball, unfiltered, direct, and brutally honest. Sunny, for all her composure and confidence, finds herself flanked on both sides by two cultural critics who aren't afraid to say the things most people are too scared to whisper. The gloves are off. The punches are real. And the resulting clash is not just uncomfortable, it's unforgettable. Because when truth meets performance, when wit meets ideology, and when two no-nonsense voices confront a platform built on carefully curated outrage, what's left standing isn't always what you'd expect.
I saw you on The View.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's been overwhelming my past couple days. So I just went in there, did my thing. I had no idea what to expect. I didn't know who Sunny Hostin was. I actually still really don't know. So I wasn't expecting necessarily for her to kind of try to ambush me in that way and attack my character in that way.
Well, it is the show that people love to hate.
Yes, that's true. That's true.
They get so much hate watching viral clips of them saying ridiculous things. I mean,
yeah.
it is a rabies infested hen.
Maher and Rogan aren't stepping into this arena to play nice. They're not here for civility or consensus. They're here for the spectacle. Think of them as the comedic version of WWE Tag Team Champions. Only instead of body slams, they bring punchlines, and instead of steel chairs, they wield sarcasm sharp enough to draw blood. Bill Maher, the ever-cool tactician, walks in like a man who's studied his opponent's every move. He doesn't yell, he doesn't interrupt. He just quietly, devastatingly, exposes the soft spots in Sunny Hostin's ideology with a smirk and a steady drip of hard truths. His mission? To unravel the contradictions behind her polished liberal persona, not with fury, but with finesse. Meanwhile, Rogan plays the opposite role. A bull in a china shop with a mic in one hand and a grudge in the other. He charges in, tossing out accusations of hypocrisy with the same ease he dismantles pseudo-intellectualism on his podcast. Together, they form a deadly combination. Maher delivers the intellectual uppercut, while Rogan lands the gut punch. And Sunny? She's caught in a crossfire of sarcasm and facts, trying to defend a narrative that's beginning to look more like performance art than principle. What starts as a clash of opinions quickly spirals into a full-blown roast, with Sunny's ideological fortress reduced to rubble, piece by smug piece. It's not just entertaining, it's a public reckoning in real time.
I'll use any term you want,
Okay.
because maybe that is a word that's triggering, and so let's not use that word. I don't know, want to call it the super far left, but don't tell me the left
Or maybe the super far right.
He's
Well,
talking about the left. Well, then
Okay, but we talked about that. I mean, I think we agree about the danger of the super far right, and I can't say it enough. I think they're the bigger threat. But don't tell me that the left hasn't changed.
It starts with a word, just a single word, and suddenly the entire conversation derails. Triggering, they say, and immediately we're knee-deep in a semantic minefield. You see, that's the thing about conversations on The View. They aren't about truth. They're about optics, comfort, and ideological safe spaces. So when Bill Maher calmly suggests we shouldn't be afraid to name the extremes on the left, the reaction is swift and predictable. Sunny Hostin clutches her moral compass like a lifeline, deflecting and dancing around the topic like it's radioactive. Let's not call it that, she pleads. Maybe use another term. But Maher isn't buying it. He's not here to play language games. He's here to call out what everyone else is too scared to say. The left has changed, and not for the better. While Sunny insists on framing the far right as the bigger threat, and to be fair, she's not wrong. What she can't do, what she refuses to do, is acknowledge that the progressive left has also drifted into dangerous, dogmatic territory. And that's where the real tension lives. Not in the disagreements, but in the refusal to confront inconvenient truths. It's a showdown between curated comfort and inconvenient reality. Maher's tone stays measured, almost friendly, but his message cuts like glass. If we can call out extremism on one side, we damn well better do it on the other. Otherwise, we're not having a conversation. We're running a PR campaign for selective outrage.
Get it? I also hate Joy Behar. So I don't love you, but I also hate that squawking bird. So I hate the whole thing. And frankly, that show, you want to talk about a show that set women back, is The View. You want to talk about that show, if the CIA is engineering, Antifa and fucking the Capitol riot, some crazy misogynist engineered The View, because there's nothing worse than The View. In terms of there are so many brilliant women out there. None of them are on The View. None of them have gone near the set of The View.
You can feel it before a word is spoken. The tension, thick in the air like the calm before a storm. Bill Maher and Joe Rogan, each with their own brand of unapologetic critique, step into the ring not to debate Sunny Hostin, but to dismantle her. Piece by carefully crafted piece. This isn't a conversation. It's a roast disguised as discourse. Every time Sunny leans into her moral high ground, Maher slices through it with icy wit, while Rogan pummels it with blunt force realism. Maher plays the part of the seasoned heavyweight, deliberate and precise, like a boxer who knows how to make you sweat without throwing a single punch. His every line is delivered with surgical timing. No shouting, no rage, just that calm condescension of someone who knows he's already won the argument. And Rogan? He's the chaos agent. Loud, irreverent, and completely immune to social expectations. He doesn't care about how it sounds. He cares about whether it's true. And what's true in this moment is simple. Sunny Hostin is in over her head. The View's usual structure of applause lines and one-sided commentary doesn't work here. Not when two of the most unfiltered voices in modern media are systematically burning the script to the ground. This isn't a clash of ideologies. It's a public dissection of performative politics. And Sunny, she's the case study.
It's a very strange show, but it's fun to watch. It's just fun to watch them.
It's good entertainment.
Yeah.
Undoubtedly.
Well, they're just, it's interesting because I think Sunny is very intelligent, but she's ideologically captured.
Right.
That's sort of, I think the other ones, there's a couple of the other ones, don't have to name any names, are just very dull-minded. But I think Sunny's not one of them. I think she's smart, but captured.
Sure, I think she came into it with an agenda.
Of course.
You know,
They do everything with an agenda.
Bill Maher doesn't yell. He doesn't interrupt. He doesn't need to. His comedic style is a refined weapon, precise, deliberate, and devastatingly effective. Armed with sardonic wit and a lifetime of navigating the absurdity of modern discourse, he takes aim not at low-hanging fruit, but at the glittering hollow targets sitting atop their ideological pedestals. Targets like Sunny Hostin. Maher isn't here to play gotcha. He's here to quietly peel back the polished veneer of liberal elitism, revealing the contradictions that lie just beneath. He doesn't swing wildly. Instead, he waits, watches, then drops a single sentence so dry and devastating that the entire room shifts. It's never direct. He's too smart for that. He doesn't attack Sunny as a person. He attacks the premise of her worldview. Cancel culture? Identity politics? Maher doesn't just call them out. He reveals their absurdity with a calm that's almost unnerving. With each statement, he lays breadcrumbs. Small truths that, when followed, lead to a cliff no one was ready to acknowledge. And as Sunny clings to her talking points, Maher simply raises an eyebrow, takes a sip of his drink, and drops another fact bomb. If facts were currency, he quips, voice dripping with sarcasm, Sunny would be bankrupt. It's not the insult that stings. It's the accuracy. And as the laughter rolls in, you realize this isn't comedy. It's an intellectual reckoning, and Maher is conducting the audit.
It's called The View?
It's called The View. It's not called The Facts.
Yeah, but
It's
isn't it interesting that it's called, I mean, I don't think they meant this when Barbara Walters invented it a long time ago, but it's The View.
well,
That's the problem in America.
But there's
There is
clearly-
one view,
Right, and
one
that's clearly
true opinion, and everybody else can go sit in the corner.
that's correct. I think that's not actually.
There's a specific kind of insult that doesn't feel like an insult at first. It's too polished, too polite, until the sting sets in and you realize you've just been intellectually uppercut. That's the Maher method. He speaks softly, almost conspiratorially, with a smirk that says, "You're not going to like this, but it's true." And Sunny Hostin? She's not prepared. Not for this. Not for him. At first, she does what she always does. Smiles, nods, holds the moral line. But with each passing moment, that composure begins to crack. Because Maher isn't just calling her out. He's flipping her entire public persona inside out. "You're the kind of person," he says with faux admiration, "who says the quiet part out loud and thinks it makes you enlightened." The audience laughs. Sunny squirms. And the roast is only beginning. Maher doesn't need to raise his voice. He doesn't need to dominate the room. His calm, collected cadence does more damage than 100 shouted insults. Every word lands with surgical precision, cutting away at Sunny's carefully maintained image of progressive perfection. And as she searches for footing, some clever comeback, some rhetorical escape, she finds nothing. Because this isn't just a roast. It's a mirror. And Maher, with that smug smirk and velvet-wrapped fist, forces her to look at the reflection. Slowly, painfully, completely.
About Whoopi Goldberg, because I got so many texts this week because she attacked me the week
Yeah,
before.
sure.
So everybody was like, "Oh, Bill, I get you're enjoying the karma." First of all, I'm going to talk about this at the end of my show next week, teaser. But there is no f***ing thing as karma, okay? Get over that. Whoopi attacks me on a regular basis. She says stupid on a regular basis. It just happened to coincide. But can I just
By now, the tension is no longer just visible. It's palpable. You can feel it in the audience, in the pregnant pauses, in the way Sunny Hostin begins to shift in her seat. This isn't the usual panel talk with pre-approved applause lines and carefully curated outrage. This is a reckoning. And Bill Maher is just getting started. Every time he speaks, it's with that unnerving calm, the kind of calm that knows exactly where the weak spots are. He isn't here to argue. He's here to expose. And then, just when you think it couldn't escalate further, Joe Rogan enters. And with him, subtlety leaves the room. Where Maher is the scalpel, Rogan is the sledgehammer. He doesn't tiptoe around social taboos. He doesn't wrap his critiques in polite language. He comes in swinging, bold, brash, and unfiltered. He doesn't care about media training or ideological etiquette. What he cares about is calling out hypocrisy, wherever it hides. And for him, Sunny Hostin's entire platform is low-hanging fruit, glossy, pre-packaged outrage built on shaky logic and feel-good slogans. Rogan isn't interested in playing by the rules. In fact, he's here to blow the whole game up. While Maher is still dismantling Sonny's logic point by point, Rogan grabs the megaphone and yells, "This is all nonsense." And the thing is, he's not wrong. That's what makes it so effective. His critiques may lack polish, but they don't lack truth. He mocks not just the arguments, but the culture of insulation that allowed them to thrive. For every moment of Maher's controlled dissection, Rogan delivers a punchline so blunt it rattles the walls. And as Sonny tries to keep up, to fight back, she realizes, this isn't the View anymore. This is the real world. And in the real world, empty rhetoric doesn't stand a chance.
In fairness, though, I mean, the View has to be, if you average out the View hosts, among the dumbest people on television. And so it's like they say the thing that people are thinking, but they say it very directly, so they expose whatever truth. But
I don't think some of them are dumb.
You don't think so?
No, I don't think Sunny Hostin's
You think it's
dumb.
deliberate?
I think she's ideologically driven, and they have blinders on, for sure.
If Bill Maher set the table, Joe Rogan just kicked it over. The moment he starts speaking, it's clear. There will be no soft landing. He doesn't mince words, and he's not interested in sounding diplomatic. What he delivers instead is a freight train of unapologetic reality, and Sunny Hostin just stepped onto the tracks. He starts by doing what few dare to do, challenging the premise of her authority. Rogan doesn't care how many Twitter followers she has or how polished her media presence is. He sees right through it. What he calls out is not just her opinions, but her lack of consequence, her habit of preaching ideas that sound nice but crumble under the weight of practical application. She talks about justice, equity, social change, but she rarely deals with what those things actually cost. And Rogan knows that. So he doesn't waste time. He skewers her reliance on emotional appeals, her overuse of buzzwords, and her tendency to cling to slogans over substance. His words hit harder because they're not filtered. They're raw, they're unpolished, but they're real. And that reality is what Sunny can't answer. As she fumbles for the high ground, Rogan keeps pressing. "You talk about change," he says, "but what have you changed?" It's the kind of line that cuts deeper than 1,000 think pieces. Not because it's rude, but because it's true. Sunny, like many in the pundit class, has grown comfortable in the echo chamber. But Rogan is the wrecking ball. And right now, that chamber is falling apart, brick by brick. This isn't just a roast anymore. It's a breakdown of ideology. And Sunny, for once, has no cue cards, no crowd cheering her on. Just two critics with microphones, and a truth she can't outrun.
Yeah, did you watch the episode where Tulsi Gabbard got on to defend herself, and Joy Behar starts panicking and going over her notes while Tulsi is refuting everything that she said?
Yeah, I mean, Joy Behar, again, these people have dementia. These are people who, should not be allowed out of the house. They have a national platform. I mean, it is crazy. They have no idea. These people have never read, a book.
By now, the lines have been drawn. Maher and Rogan have staked out their turf in the roast war, and what's unfolding isn't just debate. It's demolition. Maher, ever the tactician, plays the long game. He speaks with the patience of a man who knows his argument doesn't need to shout to be heard. He lays it out like a master chess player, each move designed to corner Sunny Hostin into one inevitable truth: that her ideology, no matter how elegantly packaged, simply doesn't hold up under scrutiny. His approach is surgical. He deconstructs her optimism, challenges the fairy tale of progressive solutions that work only in theory, never in practice. "You talk about justice," he says with a measured tone, "but skip the part where we have to make hard decisions." It's devastating, not because it's cruel, but because it's honest. And before Sunny can catch her breath, Rogan returns, loud, bold, unrelenting. Where Maher crafts the narrative like a novelist, Rogan's delivery is pure stand-up. Brutal. Efficient. "Let me spell it out," he says, pausing just long enough for the silence to make it sting. "Your theories sound great, until we actually try them." The audience erupts. Sunny tries to push back, but the momentum is gone. Her usual sharpness? Blunted. Her control? Gone. She looks like a fighter swinging blind, trying to hold the moral line while two cultural wrecking balls dismantle it in real time. As the moment reaches its climax, Maher leans back with that familiar smirk, half smile, half smug, and drops the final blow. Not a shout. A whisper. But it lands like thunder. And then Rogan, the closer, drops his mic line. Progress? Try taking it out of your Twitter bio and doing something real. That's not just a joke. It's a death sentence for empty activism. The crowd roars, not because they hate Sonny, but because for once, someone said what no one else had the courage to say. The liberal elite, the panel show pundits, the curated morality, they've had a monopoly on the narrative for too long. And tonight, that monopoly was shattered. The lights fade. The message is clear. This wasn't about roasting one host. It was about confronting a culture that's lost touch with reality. And whether you loved it or hated it, one thing's for sure, you'll be thinking about it long after the laughter dies down.